That's tea, to be honest. Right, you ready?
I'm going, yeah.
Ready?
Do you want an intro?
No, I'm bouncing off you on this one, kid.
I guess this is conversation on the couch, but it doesn't really feel like one. Anyways, welcome back to Hench and Saunters. This is our semi-conversation on the couch, semi-spoiler talk.
As of right now, there is going to be huge spoilers for Batman vs Superman. This is your final warning. If you don't want the film spoiled, stick around. No, if you don't want the film spoiled, click the red X, close the video, click watch for later, come back once you've seen it. If you've seen it or you don't care, stick around, and while you're waiting for us, click like on this video and make sure you've hit subscribe. Now, John, this is your love child. You've been hampering me for this for a few days. You've seen the film 3 times. I've seen it once, like a dreadful casual. I'm going to bounce off you on this one.
Alright.
Let's go.
Excuse me if I gush. Yeah, but you've heard that before.
I like a gush, yeah.
You've heard that before. Right, so I'm going to go chronologically. I'm going to go chronologically. What the fuck is in that tea? Right, I'm going chronologically, but before I actually start going through the movie and picking it apart and all that shit, for those of you who follow me on Twitter or follow me on Facebook, you'll know how incredibly vocal I've been about this film. I love it. I love it a lot. I've been posting quotes, I've been posting screenshots. I love it. I've been watching a bunch of different reviews from critics to fans, positive to overwhelmingly negative, to really get a full grasp of what my opinion is and how I feel about this film. As Rob says, I've seen it 3 times, and it's not a case of denial like it was with Green Lantern a few years back, fooling myself into thinking it was good. Batman vs Superman is an experience. It is a cinematic experience. It's a mammoth of a movie, and I love it because it is a dark, serious, mature character study of these characters who we think we know, but we've only just scratched the surface of these characters, and there's so much more to them. And straight off the bat, no pun intended, the controversy surrounding it and the critique of it is that it's so dark, it's so serious. Batman kills. Superman, to a degree, kills. Superman is not this bright, happy Boy Scout. Batman has also lost his humanity in the sense that he breaks his one rule frequently. It doesn't matter to me because there's a really good reason for it.
Also, if I can interject,
please.
The one rule of no killing was only really hammered home in the Nolan films. It's always been there in the comics, but it's never been such a controversial sort of centre point.
It's a pretty flexible rule, to be honest.
I mean, when he's slamming these people by their necks against the floor, do you think they're alive?
It's
because they're not. Batman's always been a dark character, and even before this, if I can go ultra comic retro, I believe in the 60s he ran around with a gun. He wasn't this bright, well, I guess dark beacon of hope. You know, he has killed in the past, and in this grounded universe, it fits. So
I agree. Obviously, the main inspiration for this movie was The Dark Knight Returns. You look at that graphic novel, and you know, the operating table scene and stuff like that.
Still gets me wet now.
This is a dark, violent character. He's bitter, he's cynical. And that's exactly what Ben Affleck is playing in this movie. So he's not the Batman from the comics. He is changed, he's different, he's darker, he's since the arrival, and I guess I'm going into the movie now, we open up with the death of Bruce's parents again, which, for me personally, I think this is the definitive depiction of that, because we get panel for panel the pearls breaking from Dark Knight Returns. It's excellent. Yeah. We hammer it home that his mum's name is Martha, which comes back later on in the film. Juxtapose that with Bruce at the funeral, running away from Alfred, running away from the crowd, and falling down into the cave. And we realise it's a dream sequence, and the bats surround him and lift him up into the light. Which is where one of the most brilliant pieces of music plays, A Beautiful Lie, from that soundtrack. And we are introduced to an adult Bruce Wayne in Metropolis as he is viewing the fight between Superman and Zod. Now, from his perspective, we can see the amount of destruction. You look at Man of Steel, there's a lot of destruction, don't get me wrong, but it's exhilarating to watch because it's just, it's porn.
I think the focus, again, if I can, the
Please.
focus of the Man of Steel fight is Superman versus Zod.
Mm-hmm.
No one, when you watch that film, you don't care about, oh shit, that building's falling, or those people are getting crushed. It was probably only the big controversy of the backlash of Man of Steel that highlighted the damage, right? And it's great that Warner Brothers listened and wrote it into Batman vs Superman, but seeing it from Bruce Wayne's perspective, and again, as daft as it sounds, you see it from a person on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing everyone else run away and him running into it. It really does bring home how much damage there was in Man of Steel.
For sure. But, you know, you raise a good point. Him running into that cloud of smoke after the building has just fallen down is totally the Bruce Wayne, the Batman from the comics.
Yeah.
But in that moment, when he realises that what he's been doing hasn't made a goddamn difference, because this creature from another planet, who is God, who is incredibly superpowered, he can't even stop people from dying. He's not making an effort to... So what can this guy do? And it's from that point that the bitterness starts to build up in him, and he goes on a journey down this rabbit hole.
I actually think you can read a lot in terms of Batman and his brutal nature and his sort of the vanishing of the no killing policy in the dialogue with Alfred, right? Especially the line, I'm going to paraphrase it: "How many good people have we known in Gotham? How many stayed good?" To me, this is a Batman who's been doing his thing for 15 plus years, and he's not blind to the small amount of difference he's actually made. I think this is a Batman who understands that as one man, he can only do so much, and for that reason, he's grown to resent not only the city, but his lack of ability in solving these bigger problems. Mm. So again, when you combine that with what John said, he looks up to the sky and he sees these gods as they're being described, basically. Well, what they are to the mortal man.
Yeah.
You see them clashing in such a way. Bruce Wayne would never be able to step into that ring. And you can understand where this darkness has come from. So I think, again, the criticisms especially the criticisms about the portrayal of Bruce Wayne by Ben Affleck are ridiculous. Christian Bale did a fantastic job. He was a fantastic Batman. For me, he wasn't that great of a Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck has killed it with both.
I agree.
So yeah, and we'll talk about Zack Snyder for later.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about Zack Snyder. So moving on from that, obviously we get the point is that from this point he is embittered. He's already pissed off because he lost Robin, which we learn outside of this movie about 10 years beforehand.
Yes.
He lost Robin. Robin. They don't specify which one it is, but of course it's probably Jason Todd.
Yeah, I mean at this point, given how faithful they've been.
Yeah.
With everything else.
And Jenna Malone, obviously, she wasn't in this theatrical cut, but she's going to be in the Ultimate Cut. I would place money that she is going to be Oracle, Barbara Gordon. She's going to be in the wheelchair. So, of course, we've got all that torment from the Joker. So, Bruce is a broken man.
I think, in fact, just touching on that ever so quickly, I think Barbara Gordon starting this film series as Oracle is a great idea because I think the Killing Joke is maybe too controversial to be done in film.
Yeah.
Especially with Commissioner Gordon being driven through the tunnels.
Well, I don't, because on a side note, the animated film is coming out in the summer this year.
Yes, of course.
So I don't think it's necessary to cover that again. I'm still kind of iffy on them doing Under the Red Hood because they did such a great job with the cartoon. Yeah. So I'd like them to take a few bits and pieces from The Killing Joke and from Under the Red Hood. I mean, you look at Arkham Knight, which just came out last year or the year before. That, although it's a bit flimsy, the story is a great adaptation of those two storylines, so it's very cool. So anyways, continuing on with the film itself, we then cut to a huge piece of kryptonite being found in the Indian Ocean after the world engine has fallen. Obviously, that was a great shot to see this sort of decaying, dead world engine in such a beautiful setting. And then these two village divers going down and getting this huge piece of kryptonite. It's really cool. I can't really remember verbatim what this film is, what the actual next scene is.
I think it's Lex, right?
But yeah, we get introduced to what Clark is doing. That's it. It's Africa. They go to Africa then. So Lois Lane has been captured by some African terrorists. She's there to do a story, and shit goes down. She's captured. Superman flies in, There's more to that story because what happens in Africa is a huge deal for the Senate hearing.
Yeah.
But we don't actually get to see what really happens. So presumably Superman was there and it was a catalyst for this terrorist organisation who Lex is working with, and they kill, one of them is KG Beast, and they kill a bunch of villagers.
Rumour is he isn't gone.
I doubt it.
No, the rumour is that they're saving him for an appearance down the line.
They'll do a Crossbones kind of thing with him.
Yeah.
Because of the way he went out.
Yeah, exactly. Civil War a month away, less than, but as were.
I think going through chronologically is a really bad idea. To be honest with you,
I
can't remember exactly. So let's just go through the
one that comes to my mind is Lex.
Yeah, very controversial.
Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal. I think it was you, or it might have been Sam, hit it out of the park when you said that Lex has always classically been this crazy scientist.
Oh yeah, it's me.
It's only really in the Justice League cartoon, which were fantastic, and it was a lot of people who would have gone to see Batman vs Superman. The Justice League cartoon was their childhood, but the Lex Luthor in that is not representative of the Lex Luthor that's been in comics for the last 50 plus years.
I agree. The iterations of Lex Luthor in the comic books have changed dramatically, but the one I'm most familiar with in the comic books is this bratty little bastard. You know, he's prominent in Secret Origin, where he is this meddlesome little kid who's just looking for daddy's approval, which has always been the case with Lex Luthor, to be honest with you.
He even talks about it, right?
He talks about it in the movie. I don't think that had been as prominent until Smallville. So Smallville obviously had a huge impact because Lionel Luthor was a character created specifically for Smallville, and they took that and put it into the comics. I think, I could be completely wrong, but that's what I took it as. So for me personally, I've grown up with Gene Hackman, who is the campy Lex Luthor, Kevin Spacey, who's the slightly less campy Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum, who is an incredibly calculated Lex Luthor, very intelligent, and Clancy Brown, who voiced him in Justice League and Superman animated series, who again is a very entrepreneurial, calculated businessman with dark elements. I can't decide which one I like more. I think they're all different, they all have merit, and Jesse Eisenberg's take is another one to add to the list. I don't think it's bad, I don't think it's brilliant, but he says a lot of stuff that I can remember. There's a lot of quotes, great lines that he gets from Chris Terrio, and presumably David Goyer as well, so I don't think he's pointless in this film. I don't think he brings it down at all. It's a controversial thing. People seem to think that he's terrible in this film or out of place, and I don't think so. I'm
significantly nothing but positive. Quite frankly, I think in a film full of some quite brooding characters, I mean, Superman in this, he's very humourless in a way. Not that that's a bad thing.
He's sombre.
Yeah, he's very sombre. Batman, we've discussed this. Even when we see Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, yes, there's the "you've never known a woman like me" line, but other than that, she seems very reserved.
She's the only time she really opens up is when she's fighting.
Yeah,
there's a couple of great moments where she's knocked back and she wipes a bit of blood off her. She really enjoys fighting, but other than that, again, she's very sort of serious and reserved.
And then you have Lex Luthor, who's such a shot away from these. You know, the first time you see him in the film, he's shooting hoops.
Yeah.
And after that,
his first line is "Ahoy, ahoy!"
Yeah, and then he's popping Jolly Ranchers into government officials' mouths and things like that. To me, that is something so different. It was a fresh flavour, not only to the character, but to the film in general. And the one shot for me that I really, really loved, aside from the communion shot that we've seen released by the Warner Brothers, I can't wait for that on the cut, was the shot when Superman catches Lois, flies back up, and Lex is sat cross-legged on the floor.
Boy, do we have problems up here!
He's sat there on cross-legged on the floor like a kid.
With an egg timer.
Yeah, with the teacher telling him off. And yet, not only do we have this, but through the events of the film, you really see how far ahead Lex is of everybody. You know, he's even further ahead than Batman.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I adored Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal. Would I like to see changes in the future? Yes. Now that we've had...
I think, before you even say what you're going to say, we're going to have changes.
Yeah.
They've already set up his character. Another thing to note, sorry to cut you up, but he is technically Lex Luthor Jr., which is another thing to add. He's, technically speaking, he is not the Lex that we're familiar with in the comics.
No,
or in
he's
the
Alexander Luthor, isn't
he? Lex Jr.
Yeah.
So he's kind of this bratty kid who's inherited the world. I like to think of him, as much as I fucking hate Justin Bieber, think of him as Justin Bieber in the sense that he is this untouchable millionaire.
I was going to make a Bieber reference then, but
Please
I feel
don't.
like I wouldn't make it out of the house. Please don't. What do you mean? Yes! John, is it too late to say I'm sorry now?
Oh, fuck off. But on a serious note, I do consider him to be this... Yes, he's the Mark Zuckerberg kind of entrepreneur kind of guy, but he's also, as I said, Justin Bieber, untouchable in a sense. And it's only when he commits all these crimes and Lois Lane finds him out, and she can prove all the bullshit with the ballistics of the bullet. I mean, that plot point is a bit flimsy, but whatever.
From what I've heard, literally I read this morning, that will factor more into the Senate hearing.
Yeah, the Africa scene is much longer.
Yeah.
There's a couple more Doomsday stuff. There's an extended fight between Bats and Superman, I believe.
Jenna Malone.
Jenna Malone, of course.
Dan Amboyer is in there somewhere.
It has to be.
I know, obviously, the video I did went huge on the channel, amazingly.
Still climbing.
Thank you for that. But more importantly, Dan Amboyer is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
What I believe, and I'm going to stick to my guns here, I think he is Green Lantern. Or, more likely, I think he's a Hal Jordan before he's Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And I think he's been cut because of the controversy of putting in too many players at one time.
I say fuck it.
Mate, I'd have been down. I'd have loved it. Because as Hal, no one, not that, only 50% of your audience would know that that's the future Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Everyone else would be like, he's Highball. No one cares. Call him Highball. There you go. Only the hardcore comic fans will know. But he's in there somewhere, along with Jenna Malone.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited for the Ultimate Cut. Speaking of which, I've pre-ordered 2 copies of the Ultimate Cut with the statues. Yeah.
Where from?
For Amazon. There's an Amazon exclusive Blu-ray collection set of the Ultimate Cut with a Batman statue, and there's another one with a Superman statue, but I can't pick between the two, so I have to pre-order both.
Love that.
And as Rob said, I've seen it 3 times at the cinema. Full price IMAX tickets, so that's 16 quid a time or something like that.
Yeah, it's close enough.
It's expensive, so, I wouldn't be putting hard-earned cash on the counter if I didn't think this movie was good. I don't see films multiple times at the cinema. I saw Star Wars 3 times, which it well deserved. This one does too. I feel like I need to every now and then just say that I love this film and I think it's an excellent film. And I think this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about the behind the scenes stuff. Zack Snyder, people say, is a hack. How can you possibly say this guy is a hack? He has the weight of the DC universe on his shoulders, and he could very easily cop out and make something that Marvel are doing, do something that is seamless in a sense, do after credit scenes instead of putting Easter eggs in the film itself, in the body of the film, make the characters 2-dimensional so that the plot can be more fluid and organic. But no, instead he decides to make a 2.5-hour art house film essentially about characters and then putting in the superhero blockbuster stuff at the end.
Preach.
Zack Snyder is not a hack.
And he also, it disgusts me that I have to say this, but some idiots have decided that there should be a petition to remove Zack Snyder from the Justice League film. First of all, it's not going to happen. Because this is as much his creative baby as it is Warner Brothers, as it is Terrio, Affleck, any of those, right? So it's not going to happen. And first of all, this man does not deserve your criticism. He has brought to the screen something that every single fanboy who is now sitting there signing this petition was wishing for 3 years ago. Every single hardcore fan who is now signed that petition probably shed a tear at the first trailer. So I won't swear, but because it's not fair. Zack Snyder, you're the man. Keep it up. Can't wait for Justice League.
Preach, bro.
It's,
See, the thing is, I can talk about Chris Terrio and David Goyer. The script is not airtight. It is flimsy at times, which I think comes from David Goyer, because if you go back and look at The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, Those are not airtight scripts.
Throw this out there again quickly. It's not the script that the Comic-Con panel made me expect. Because the Comic-Con panel talked about the script. Yeah. Almost every person. It wasn't. However, Jesse Eisenberg was the biggest plauder. I actually think his lines are some of the best things.
Oh, for sure. I guess he got to retain a lot of it. He said that before, when he was doing the press junkets, that it wasn't like working in a Hollywood blockbuster. It was like being in an art house independent film. And I can kind of see that with the lines he gets, with the stuff he gets to deliver. I love his opening scene with Senator Finch when he's explaining about the kryptonite. He says, and amongst the fishes, we found a whale.
Yeah.
Emerald City. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that shit. It's cool.
The scene with Finch in the house. That was just amazing.
Do you think Daddy would mind if I changed just one thing?
Yeah.
See, that should be upside down.
Yeah. It's just... See, but exactly that.
That shit is awesome.
It's and Lex's lines that are stuck, right?
A lot of the lines have stuck with me, more so than in Man of Steel, for example. Man of Steel doesn't have a great script at all. Batman v Superman has got a very decent script. I think I was making a point. So yeah, the script, as I said, is not airtight. If you look at The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises now with fresh eyes, they are not perfect movies. They're very well made for what they are, but The Dark Knight, if you really look at it, I know that they can throw away and say that the Joker's motivation is just to cause anarchy. He doesn't really have a proper motivation in that movie if you really watch it. And he should have some motivation. And again, there's no real motivation as to why the mobs are reacting the way they are to this, that and the other. Seriously, go watch those movies and you'll see how many plot holes there are. There's lots.
Dark Knight Rises, just... There was no need to introduce Talia at all.
No need to do that. This is the thing that really fucking pisses me off. There was too many characters in The Dark Knight Rises, for me. I think there was far too many characters. They were bringing too many people back. And The Dark Knight Rises, again, did the same thing that people are complaining about with Batman vs Superman. It's not our comic book Batman. Batman loses the woman he loves. We've said this before. Batman loses the woman he loves. He does not retire for 8 years. No. He carries on and he busts some skulls. He gets it out of his system like he's doing in Batman vs Superman. I think if he loses a loved one, what he's doing in this new movie is exactly what he would do. Completely and he's doing it until someone snaps him out of it. And what snaps him out of it is the name Martha. So moving on to that point, because I know a lot of people complain about it, I think it's brilliant. The first time through, I was a bit shaky on it, but I thought it was a very interesting thing to do because it's never been done, never been acknowledged before in any film or comic book before. Never been acknowledged.
I didn't even know they had the same first name.
So I knew, but it's kind of just, it's this comic book common knowledge thing, but no one ever acknowledges it in the story itself. So what an incredible thing to use to snap Batman out of it. He's ready to kill this guy. He's got Superman under his foot. And he's got this, the kryptonite spear, ready to go.
That's badass,
and
by the way.
It's, awesome. Yeah. And he's saying, and Superman's like, no, you're letting him kill Martha. And Batman, takes a step back. He's, how do you know that name? Why are you saying that name? And the reason for that is because we learn in the beginning that the funeral and the reenactment of his parents' death is a dream. He's been reliving this horrible memory. So of course he's going to question, why are you saying Martha? And it just so happens that his mum's name's Martha too. And that snaps him out of it because another Martha is at threat. Another Martha can die. He kind of remembers why he started this crusade in the first place. So that he can stop other kids from losing their parents like he did. Dying in an alley, some downtown fucking theatre or whatever. So it makes sense, and he realises that this God is another human being. Yeah. He has a mother, he has loved ones, he's trying to do his best. And it's a really touching moment, and again, 3 times through, it's still as poignant.
I was just about to bring that up. What the Martha scene really does for me, first of all, my biggest criticism, I don't really think Lois Lane needs to be there. No. That's probably my one criticism of the scene.
Lois Lane in general, I mean, I could do without her in that whole film, to be honest with you. But that's not a criticism against her character or Amy Adams. It's just, you could remove Lois from this film and it would still flow the same. She's only there really just to say it's his mother's name.
Yeah, but
essentially,
what it did for me is it highlighted Superman's humanity, and it's something that even as viewers we lose track of, because when he's throwing Zod through buildings, or he's the Batmobile's bouncing off him and he's saying kill the bat, he bury the bat, or whatever it is, he's dead. Yeah, you lose any sort of, you look at him, you don't see a human, you see Superman, you see a god, a Kryptonian, someone who can lift buildings and shoot lasers out of his eyes. You don't see a bloke whose dad died doing the right thing and whose mum is just a farm. She's a waitress in this film. Yeah. She's a what I can tell.
She's just doing
an American diner
make ends meet
waitress who's just hustling the money because her house got destroyed in the last film, and she can't tell the world she's Superman's mom.
No.
And all of a sudden, snap, Martha. First of all, the big one that so many people seem to gloss over. That scene highlights exactly how fragile Batman's consciousness is.
Yeah.
Right? This is not a mentally stable bloke.
No.
First of all, he dresses up as a bat and fights crime in the night. That's weird enough.
People have really explored this, and that, like with Joker, the mask is him. Rather, the Joker is the Joker, and Batman is Batman. Yeah. Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Bruce Wayne is the alternate identity, I mean, this is a guy who takes on 10, 11-year-old kids as sidekicks in the comics. This is not a mentally stable character.
Yeah.
So for someone to be switched from about to commit murder to, I'm a friend of your son's, I think he says when he rescues Martha, that shows you how fragile.
And speaking of which, people read too much into that as well.
Yeah.
It's not like, and I've said this before, I don't know whether it was to you, I don't know whether it's to someone else, it's not like they've done this Step Brothers meme that's going around. It's like, your mum's name's Martha? My mum's name's Martha. Let's be best friends. Yeah. That's not exactly what's going on. He realises that time is short, he better just get on with it, and he says to him, Martha won't die tonight. Yeah. You go to the ship, you're needed there, I'll go and save your mum. And that's what he does. And he doesn't say I'm a friend of your son's to be sincere, I'm a friend of your son's, because they're not. There's still an animosity between them two, even in the fight later on, which I've spoken to you about, I'm sure. But he says it to put this elderly woman who has been gagged and bound by a bunch of Russian terrorists, essentially, and threatened with a flamethrower. He says it to put her at ease. Because him smashing through a window, or in this scene actually, what precedes it rather, is him shooting a guy in an oil tank on his back, gas tank, and blowing him up in front of her, dressed as a bat. Like, she's going to need some assurance that he's not there to harm her. So he says, I'm a friend of your son's.
He's also shot the oil tank so fire went everywhere, wrapped her up in his cloak, and is about this far away from her face. If he'd have gone, I'm Batman, I don't think it would have gone.
Screamed.
Yeah, I don't think it would have gone that well.
It's I mean, I don't have any problems with those exchanges. Maybe it's because we're British and comic books aren't that big of a deal to us in our culture. I don't know. I definitely think the movie's doing better over here than it is in the States.
Yeah, it is.
Remarking on something that you mentioned earlier about the petition to get Zack Snyder fired. That won't happen, and there's already been a massive box office drop-off that people... Apparently fans are happy that this movie is not making any money. Why would you be happy about that? Because potentially that could mean there's no more for you. So, you're kind of digging yourself a grave there, to be honest with you. That's not the case. Warner Brothers have said they're not fussed about the box office drop-off because they're focusing on the bigger picture, which I think is such a ballsy thing to say.
Yep.
And again, it shows their integrity. Off camera, we mentioned the reshoots for Suicide Squad, which shows a lack of integrity, but I'm hoping they're just doing that to appease some fans, and we'll still get David Ayer's version of Suicide Squad at some point. Whatever, reshoots aren't necessarily a bad thing, to be honest with you. You said, there could be a bad thing. They could be a bad thing. Reshoots happen all the time. I don't think it's anything to worry about. Lots of movies do reshoots. It could be a reshoot. They said to infuse more fun. It could be a reshoot to do an end credit scene or something. Maybe they're going to do that to mock.
You don't
Marvel.
really know, and unfortunately, do you know what? That would be a Suicide Squad thing to do.
Avengers did reshoots, for fuck's sake.
They did the shawarma scene.
They did the shawarma scene, and that they did that, and no one panicked about that.
No,
surely.
no one knows.
So whatever.
Let's wait and see. Now, I would like to talk about what was a huge moment in the film for me.
I know what you're talking about already.
Do you?
I think so. Go ahead.
It was Gal. It was main Gal. Gal Gadot. I'm very delighted to say there has been very little criticism for this woman in this role.
Everyone has shut up about it.
We were both. I think you were slightly more sceptical than I was.
I was more sceptical because of her acting ability, which she still hasn't proven to me. No. But she's a pretty kick-ass Wonder Woman. And
she was, I think that's what I've got to say. There's a GIF floating around. I saw it today. Where she's doing an interview. No.
I don't know.
She's doing an interview, and someone's ripped a quote from the interview, and she's like, "Listen, I've got to be badass," right? And it's captioned with, "Yeah, you were," because quite frankly, she was. I mean, it could have been a Wonder Woman. Well, it was a Wonder Woman versus Doomsday fight, really, until Superman rocked up. And I loved it. We saw the lasso of truth.
Which was so... I know I spoke to you about it after the film, but they cut to it. They didn't make a big deal of it. Yeah. They just cut away to something else, cut back to it, and she's got Doomsday tied up with the lasso of truth. I freaked out.
Yeah,
so many moments through my first watch of this film, my jaw was on the floor.
It was awesome.
Because there's a genuine admiration and trust for the source material, and they've taken liberties, sure, with the characters. The gauntlets, her introduction, for fuck's sake. Batman has just crashed his plane. Doomsday's coming down. He's ready to kill him with his heat vision, and Doomsday comes down, and Wonder Woman comes down using her gauntlets, and that fucking Hans Zimmer theme tune comes in. Is she with you? It's awesome. It's such a fan-pleasing moment, and preceding that was Batman saying, "Oh shit," which they cut away from in the trailer. And I think I said to you, I hope they let him say it.
Yeah.
And they did. They let him say, "Oh shit," and it was awesome. It got a laugh every time.
And the shield, like, to me, as daft as it sounds, the shield was one of the best practically effective things for me, in that after the huge solar flare, I think it's a solar flare.
It pushed her back.
Yeah, it pushes her back, and the way it glows around the edge,
it shows heat.
It was just a great effect. Superman standing in front of the flare like a boss got me. Awesome. Just didn't even move. Just stood there like a tank.
When they have the heat, they do like the Harry Potter,
yes!
Dragon Ball Z type thing with the heat visions going against each other. That was badass. Yeah. I've got to say, the seams, or rather the seamlessness of the CGI to practical, much better in this movie than it was in Man of Steel. Like, there's one scene in Man of Steel where you're following a very, very CGI Superman, and then suddenly it's Henry Cavill. Whereas in this one, they really... you can tell the difference, don't get me wrong, but it's seamless.
You're thinking of the shot where he's circling Doomsday?
Yeah, because it's real at first, because he does... I can't remember what he does now, but he's like... It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and I think the effects... People grind on the effects. People said that Doomsday looks terrible. I don't think he looks terrible. I think the effects are really good. The design I could have done without, but I think the effects in this movie are great.
I think, design-wise of Doomsday, I think he should have come out as he finished with the extra spikes. I think he should have finished with even more.
Yeah.
I'd like to have seen almost like a hedgehog in a way, because Doomsday's natural things, it's evolution, and it would have been good to see a Doomsday that gets attacked from behind by Wonder Woman, and then in response grows some more spines on the back. But I have no real issues with it. The face was a bit weird.
Face was a bit flat.
Yeah.
I think if he had more of a nose... Genuinely, if he had more of a nose, that's such a weird thing to say. If he had more of a nose, he would have looked like the comic book Doomsday.
Superman regenerating from the nuke.
That was sick.
Boss. One of the best...
Straight out of Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, one of the best scenes in any comic book film ever.
Regenerating was a badass thing, but also they comment, was it Projectile 1 or Projectile 2?
Projectile 2 still falling.
But no sign of re-entry for Projectile 1. projectile one is Superman. And they cut to him, and like his skin particles are floating in space, and the camera pans round, and he's dead.
It's a skeleton, yeah, he did.
He did.
He
Like,
did.
he looks like a corpse.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, and it's a really, again, you would never get that in a Marvel movie.
No.
That sort of shit only happens in evidently a Zack Snyder directed DC Comics movie.
Again, we're not shitting on Marvel when we say that.
So the thing is, we have the liberty of enjoying both.
Yeah.
We don't have to take sides, and we're in a prime time of our lives right now in terms of comic book movies. We're getting 4, 5, 6 movies a year.
That's great.
And we started off so well. I was saying to Rob off camera, we started off so well this year that I'm so pumped for what's to come. Because Deadpool was great. Batman vs Superman, in my opinion, was great. It was excellent.
Yeah, completely agree.
The next movie is Civil War, and we've got X-Men Apocalypse coming, which I'm not extremely excited for.
I think I'm more hyped for that than you are, yeah.
But,
Doctor Strange
I'll
looks
see it.
huge.
Doctor Strange is in
Doctor
November.
Strange looks huge.
Really excited for that. Of course, Suicide Squad in August.
Squad!
I'm very excited for
Yeah,
that. We get another Star Wars movie in December, which I'm really excited. Is it December or is it a bit early? No,
it's November, right?
I think they pushed it back.
Have they pushed it back?
I think it was meant to be earlier, but whatever.
So
we get Rogue One in December or whatever.
It's a great time to be alive. It really is. So people don't need to shit on it just because they don't enjoy it. Just embrace that you didn't like it. I mean, I'm not blind to some of the flaws of Batman vs Superman. Having only seen it once, I would still say that there are pacing issues.
I personally, just because that is a common complaint for me, and I was speaking to Sam about this. So, go and follow Sam, Memoirs of a Mall Cop, great friend of the channel. But Sam has similar feelings to us in terms of this movie.
He's the true MVP. He's seen it 5 times in a week.
And he's probably going to see it more.
In a week.
It's insane. Insane.
Huge.
I guess I'm competing with him on a subconscious level.
I'm going to smash you all. I'm going to go and see it 5 times tomorrow.
Asshole. I mean, you want to take some sandwiches or something with you because you're going to pass out.
Yeah.
The point I was making was...
We was talking about Marvel.
We were talking about... I can't remember where
Pacing.
I was going. Pacing, there we go. Thank you, mate.
No problem.
Fucking hell. Pacing hasn't been an issue for me at all. I really liked that they took 45 minutes, 50 minutes, maybe even an hour to actually get going. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way to diminish the film. They really do set the scene. They let you know what's going on. They let you know what Bruce is up to. They let you know what's Clark and Lois have been up to. Obviously, we learn that they've moved in together. They're actually a romantic couple now. Clark has obviously made a name for himself at the Daily Planet. He's not just the new recruit. He's at loggerheads with Perry quite often in this movie. He's actually an integral... He has integrity.
He's an integral part of the Daily Planet.
He's an integral part of the Daily Planet. I think that's what I was
going
to say. I don't know. It's been a long day. I haven't even done anything today, but whatever.
So
the pacing. The pacing isn't my pacing is a fucking problem. Right, pacing isn't an issue for me with this movie. Again, I've seen it 3 times and I've never been bored. Yes, you can anticipate what's coming after you've seen it a couple of times, but that doesn't bother me because I know that I can look forward to what's coming up next. People seem to have a problem with the choppy nature of the editing. That's going to happen when you originally have a 3-hour movie that you have to cut down to 2.5 to please your studio executives. You know, this is going to happen. I think people are going to have a better idea of this movie when the ultimate cut comes out because it's going to be the true director's vision of the movie. Whether it's better or worse, I have no idea, but at least it will be the full 100% of what this movie was meant to be. I'm very excited to see that because I know that previous Zack Snyder director's cuts have been excellent. Every single movie he's done, apart from 300, has had a director's cut, and it has only benefited from that director's cut. You know, Dawn of the Dead adds a bit more fleshing out of the characters in the director's cut, which is odd from a Zack Snyder movie.
No, true.
Sucker Punch is a totally different movie with the additional 11 minutes of footage, but it becomes something genuinely clever and thought-provoking.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I
didn't even know they did one.
Totally think so.
I have to watch that.
I think you should. Watchmen, the ultimate cut, that is a fucking masterpiece.
Hold it together. I know you like that film, boy.
Unfilmable. That graphic novel, unfilmable. And Zack Snyder did it, and it's, in my opinion, one of the most perfect DC Comics adaptations that's ever been put to screen. It's probably still going to be one of the best ones, and it was stand through the test of time. So what I'm saying is, I think people can say what they want now. I've got no problems with people having their opinions and having their critical... I think critics have a problem with this movie, and I think to a degree they probably typed up their opinions before even going to see the film, because I find it so hard to believe that it's almost unanimous that these critics hate this film, and I think it's pathetic. The fact that this film is faring around the same on Rotten Tomatoes as Fantastic Four, as in Fant4stick, tells you something. And I think, I don't know what movie they've been watching, but even from a filmmaking standpoint, this is a well-made film, and I think for fanboys to be going on about it, you know, they're raping the source material, they're destroying my childhood, these aren't the characters I'm used to, they couldn't care, they just want to make a quick buck, they're doing a Freddy versus Jason type thing to combine franchises. It's bullshit. This movie has had a lot of thought and a lot of care taken into it. You watch interviews with Zack Snyder, the guy really knows what he's talking about. He's not the most eloquent person, but he is a fan of this material, and this movie is made by a fan, for fans.
Even good finish. Even critically, I would give this film double what I've seen some critics give it. To the critics out there who have given this film 30%, you genuinely should not be in a job. Because this film, even if you hated Batman, hated Superman, despised the pacing, you cannot remove Ben Affleck's performance, Jeremy Irons' performance, Lauren Fishburne's performance, Henry Cavill's performance. Say what you want about Jesse Eisenberg and the way they've taken that character. That portrayal, in terms of the chosen character and how it was acted, was absolutely phenomenal.
I agree.
The CGI, the practical, the fight scenes. If you watch the fight scenes alone, there's no way you can award this film 30%. You need to find a new job.
Well, it's just the thing that I'm seeing so frequently from critics generally is that it's too dark. It is too brooding. It's too serious. It's not fun enough. You look at the trailers, okay? You look at the cast. You look at the predecessor, Man of Steel. You look at the source material, and you tell me, what the fuck were you expecting?
Just throwing it out there. How many people expect Doctor Strange to be full of jokes?
Yeah. I'm sure it will be.
Do you think so?
I'm sure it will be because of Marvel. However, it being a horror director, for starts,
I'm not sure.
And the cast for a start, I think it will be funny and light because it's Marvel. They've made a great success off of doing that. I do think it will be slightly darker than what we're used to.
Segue. Have you seen the images of Mads Mikkelsen?
I have. Interesting.
Yeah, they look awesome. Now, I've got one last thing I want to lead topic on here, and it's two things. Obviously, the cameos in this film, again, have been quite polarising.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to talk about the big three first.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to spin this into a future discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
So, as we see, people discuss... So, for those of you who don't know, Batman sends a file to Wonder Woman, and in that file is short cameo clips of Ezra Miller's Flash, Jason Momoa's Aquaman, and Ray Fisher's Cyborg. Now, they each appear in different ways. Ezra Miller's buying milk, and all you see, brilliantly done, you genuinely see a blur,
it's like a split screen type thing. And
security
he's gone for
camera
a second,
footage.
For
less than a second.
A millisecond.
The guy's halfway across the room, and then the camera fizzles out with static while Ezra picks up his milk. Brilliant. Jason Momoa's one blew me away.
That's polarising as well. People are taking the piss out of the way he swims towards the camera.
Yeah.
I didn't see it that way.
He looks like he's walking, and to me, for a guy who's naturally at home in the ocean, that makes sense that it looks easy.
People take... Because like he's doing this weird thing. He's doing like a warrior stance. He's holding his trident over his arm and he's lunging towards this thing that he might never have seen before.
We assume it's a drone, yeah.
It's a kind of a drone thing. I don't like that it's all CCTV footage, surveillance footage. That's the only thing I don't like about these Easter eggs, but whatever. On a side note, Smallville... Lex Luthor has files on metahumans all the time in that it's always coming into emails and surveillance footage and all that shit. So I'm not against them using that, but it was just a bit of a lazy way to do it. Anyways, people take the piss out of him. I kind of took it to be playing with this drone, toying with it. There's kind of a twinkle in Momoa's eye.
Yeah, there is.
He's playing with it, and James Wan has actually said that Aquaman is going to be a little bit more playful in terms of being a film compared to Batman v Superman.
That stance is the underwater trident wielding equivalent of the flashlight gun that you see so all the time. It's exactly that. But the way the blue eyes come out first,
loved it, yeah.
And then it looks like a sea monster, and then Momoa comes out, and the underwater sonic boom as he swims away, clearly faster than the speed of sound.
Very cool.
Is just goals. It's just exactly as it should be. And seeing Cyborg, or seeing Vic Stone, as fucked up as he is. I mean, this is a guy...
a head and a shoulder.
He's a head... Follow that line.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know,
pretty
he
much
has...
on a notice board.
Yeah.
Silas Stone literally just pulls him down like that. He's on a fucking notice board. Like, pinned to it.
It's amazing. The mother box reacting and merging with... You know, that was Cyborg's origin.
Again,
that was it.
Ballsiness, because they don't explain what that mother box is.
Nope.
Not at all. It literally just cuts to another scene where Silas Stone is just dragging it into... And I fucking love that.
Have you seen today that Cyborg might debut in The Flash?
No, but that's cool.
Yeah. Well, it's Central City, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where Star Labs are.
Well done.
Anyway, so the cameos for me were amazing. Seeing Wonder Woman in the photo from 1918.
And not only that, Chris Pine standing next to her, so it's actually... people have been talking about it, and I think it would be awesome if they actually do show them taking that photograph in the Wonder Woman
it would
movie.
be good.
That would be sweet.
And the rumour is that the other characters in that shot, that there'll be a sort of Rascals group fighting.
We said, like, Howling Commandos type thing.
The rumour is that Saeed... I can't remember his name. Saeed something. He was the guy stood on Wonder Woman's left in the shot. He's actually playing an obscure DC comic superhero as well. But more importantly, seeing that, hearing Wonder Woman talk about how she left the world however many years ago, and then she's come back 100 years ago. Absolutely fantastic the way it was done. But now we've got to talk about what is personally my favourite scene in the movie.
But we have to talk about the scene leading up to it.
Yes, we do. Of course we do. Yeah.
I didn't clock onto this until my second viewing of the film, so a lot of people are going to probably feel the same way. I didn't understand why Ben Affleck, Bruce Wayne, had this nightmare until I watched it the second time through. I could be wrong, but this is my understanding of it. It happens when he's decrypting the file with the metahuman stuff on it. About 3.3% in, he has this vision, a nightmare, a post-apocalyptic vision, where he and a ragtag bunch of mercenaries are acquiring kryptonite. It's not kryptonite. He's been tricked by presumably Sons of Superman, like a knock on Sons of Batman from Dark Knight Returns. And there's this incredible single-take shot that follows a Mad Max-style Bruce Wayne Batman fighting a bunch of guys, and then all of a sudden parademons come down, they're picking people up. Parademons come down and you get to see them in all their glory. It's not like this sort of blink and you'll miss it type thing. You actually get to see a parademon. Another one comes down, sucker punches Batman, and he wakes up, he's chained with two of his other guys. Superman comes down, heat visions the two guys. We don't get to see it graphically, but you can only imagine that because he's cutting them there, their bodies just flopping down. It's disgusting. Yeah. And then takes off Batman's mask and says, "She was my world and you took her from me," and then crushes his chest. He's only woken up by your favourite scene, so continue.
So, we've known when Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa were cast as the Flash and Aquaman respectively, everybody guessed that they would be appearing in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving a bit of backstory here. Aquaman was originally estimated to have a much bigger part than he did. I'm actually glad now that I've seen the finished product that he didn't.
Yeah, there's no room for it.
Nobody expected Ezra Miller's Flash to have more than the cameo they were talking. I can promise you this. When he appears out of that wormhole and the red face mask, so you see the initial shot.
It's like a battle armour.
Yeah, you see the initial shot and his face is covered. And then it cuts to Bruce Wayne and comes back, and
It lifts up.
Yeah, you see like the remnants of it sliding back, and it's Ezra Miller straight away. For those people who don't know, was that the Flash? I couldn't tell. You have no idea.
Know your comic books, because this is fucking awesome
it's
shit.
It's the Flash.
This is, to quote Doctor Who, timey-wimey.
It's amazing. And again, Ezra Miller clearly doesn't have that much to do in this film.
No.
But this scene alone sells me that he is the Barry Allen for this universe. The absolute passion that goes into this 30 seconds. Obviously there's editing, there's things like that. But to me, it looks like he's having to fight the wormhole.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like he's come through the Speed Force and that it's hurting him to be there. You hear the way he's screaming. He's not pulled up and he's like, all right, Bruce, listen, I've got to tell you something.
Yeah.
He's screaming, Bruce, listen to me now, it's important. And people are saying that why does he shout R in the middle? To me...
It's pain.
Yeah, to me, when he says, am I too soon? And then it's, I'm too soon. To me, that is the Speed Force hitting him because he shouldn't be where he is.
He's messing around. Timelines are collapsing, essentially. He's fucking around with time. And that is potentially another explanation as to why Bruce had that vision, is because it's leaking from a different universe. It's leaking from a different timeline because he's set off a chain reaction. He's discovered something that potentially on this previous timeline he wasn't meant to discover. This could have been a meta-humanless universe until he found that file type thing. It's, Back to the Future, it's the chalkboard, parallel universes, it's all crazy shit. But the fact that we get the Flash talking to Bruce and calling him Bruce, which shows familiarity between the two, we know that they've got a history together that hasn't happened yet, which is so exciting to me. And I think lots of other people have been speaking about it on the internet. How fucking awesome would it be if in Justice League Part 2, when shit has hit the fan, Bruce has to send the Flash back to tell him something? How fucking awesome would that be? I don't know what it is, because I'm not convinced that they're talking about Superman.
They're not. I've thought about this, right? They're not. From what we've heard, we know Darkseid is coming.
Oh, I didn't say the Omega symbol. If you didn't catch it from Parademons, the Omega symbol as well, Darkseid.
One quick thing about Parademons. One of them, to me, looks like a Parademon human hybrid.
Sweet.
Look at it. Yeah, it's one in the back. It just does. Anyway, we know Darkseid is coming. Darkseid's biggest thing ever is the anti-life equation.
Yep.
The anti-life equation gives him control over other people. I think he is talking about Superman,
but not directly.
No.
This is what I was thinking.
I think
same wavelength. Awesome.
Yeah, I think Lois Lane being the key.
Yeah.
Is Lois Lane being the key?
She's the
to breaking the control. Right. That's what I think.
She's potentially worked both ways, in the sense that if she dies, then Superman loses his tether to humanity, becomes vulnerable to Darkseid's persuasion.
Yeah.
If she survives, but Superman's still in his somber state. Bearing in mind, he's just essentially died or become as close to death as possible. Yeah. He might come back and be a completely different person. He might be even darker after being on that cusp. Being on the precipice of death, he might come back as a right bastard. And if that's the case, then maybe he'll be an agent of Darkseid throughout Justice League Part 1. And then maybe by Justice League Part 2, Lois Lane is the key, and she brings it all back. How they're going to tie it all together, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm really excited for it.
Interesting as well. Flash talks about dropping out into the past too soon.
Mm.
Does that mean he's gone too far back? Or does it mean he hasn't gone back far enough?
I'd say it's too soon. Maybe he should have come at a different time.
Because interestingly, he changes the message that he wants to get across. From saying Lois is the key, which we're assuming is something that
he's like, I'm too soon. Oh, you're right about him.
A slightly advanced Bruce Wayne would have wanted to know. But this further back Bruce Wayne needs to know that he's right about somebody. Who's he right about?
You know what? It's so intriguing to me. I love that they're not spelling everything out. Yeah. For fans, it's great. I'm a relatively casual fan, so I'm still I'm the kind of guy who would Wikipedia stuff if I'm not too sure about it. I'm not an asshole. It's just going to be like, I didn't like that because I didn't understand it. I didn't know who the guy at the end of Avengers was. I had to Wikipedia it because I'm not that into comic books in the sense I don't know everything. And it's the same here. I could only imagine what was coming. I knew Darkseid was coming because I've seen the Omega symbol in Smallville, but, you know, still.
Awesome way of doing it as well, by having Lex learn about Darkseid through the ship. I think that was a great way of doing it.
Great throwback as well to Superman 2.
I actually... No, please continue.
Well, essentially, Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor, goes to the Fortress of Solitude in Superman 2.
Oh, of course.
And he gets Kryptonian AI to explain the universe to him, essentially. Yeah. I think it's cool, and it also aids as to why Lex Luthor is so batshit crazy by the end of the movie.
I think it will help with the transition. I think the transition to a different Lex...
How fucking terrifying would that be, though? To have this Lex Luthor who has been hardened by prison, and is also has the knowledge of the universe in his head.
Yeah.
That would be terrifying. I wouldn't want to face that.
And don't forget, Lex Luthor's the guy who could handle that much knowledge.
Yeah,
he's not someone.
Crack.
Yeah, he's gone a bit crazy over it, but this will be a Lex who will sit in solitary confinement and will work it out. He's not going to be someone who's going to crumble under it.
I'm really excited for what's to come, and I know that there's been a couple of articles saying that Jesse Eisenberg isn't sure about whether he's coming back for Justice. That's not him saying I don't want to come back.
That's I don't know.
That's I don't know if I'm part of this movie. It doesn't mean that he's done with this universe. I certainly wouldn't take it because with pretty much any of these franchises, you sign on for a minimum of 3 movies. Mm-hmm. So we haven't seen the last of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Marvel sign everybody on for 6. At an absolute base.
Includes like cameos and stuff. Because for example, Iron Man 2 counts for obviously not Iron Man 2, sorry. Thor counts for. Is it Thor that has the end credits scene? I think it is. Thor counts for Sam Jackson. For example, just to say, it's 6 movies, but it's not like 6 movies.
The Iron Man 3 credits counts for Mark Ruffalo. Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at because the ending of Thor is Stellan Skarsgård and Sam Jackson, Loki and all that stuff with the Cosmic Cube, or the Tesseract because they never call it the Cosmic Cube.
I wonder what that was.
I don't know actually. That's a topic for another day. Yeah, why did they not call it a Cosmic Cube?
Who knows? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say on Batman vs Superman. I've gushed about my love for Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I really have. And she seems super invested in that character, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Every single interview she does.
They all are, yeah. To be honest with you. Because they, to be honest, whether they've got good publicists or whether they have been given a shit ton of money just to keep positive, they all seem to be really invested and they seem to actually give a shit about the material. They seem to be really trusting Zack Snyder in his vision of what these movies should be. And I think we should too. To be honest with you, I am along for the ride.
Amen.
I wasn't sure whether this movie was going to be for me, and personally, I think it's been catered to me. This movie I adore. It's one of my... I've said it off camera. I think it's better than the Avengers, and I know that's a controversial statement.
It's a big claim,
but they're different.
To me, there is no better or worse in this scenario. The one thing that we are winning is, as fans, like John said earlier, we're getting 5, 6, 7 comic book movies a year. For me, the best thing about that is they're all going to be different.
Yeah. I'm glad that this is different.
I don't want, I said this in the video from yesterday, I don't want Deadshot quipping in Suicide Squad like Tony Stark would.
No.
I don't want Superman to be almost, again, no discredit because I love the way they've done Captain America, I don't want Superman to be this campy beacon of hope.
Yeah, I don't want him to be this ultra-patriotic character because Superman belongs to the world. He's not American,
Yeah.
I think the way they've done it in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman is great. I love that he's... I said it in a Man of Steel review, and I think I did anyway. I don't think Henry Cavill is depressing as Superman. He's never pessimistic. He is a little bit in this movie. That's, for many reasons. But in Man of Steel in particular, he's still very optimistic. You look at his first flight scene, he fucking loves flying. He is loving that shit.
I mean, the fight against Fiora and the huge hulking Kryptonian, that's a fight that if he was pessimistic, he wouldn't even go for. He'd grab his mum and he'd breeze on out of there.
That shit,
but again, he fights.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again and again and again to sort of defend Superman. In fact, I don't think we've spoken enough about Superman for Batman vs Superman, and that's something I wanted to sort of drive home, is that this is billed as a Batman movie because he's got the top credit, he's got the first credit on there. It's not a Batman movie.
No.
It has a lot of I think it's very, very even. It's very 50-50, but this is definitely a sequel to Man of Steel. It may not be Man of Steel 2, but it's a continuation of that story. And a lot of Man of Steel carries over, musical cues, sets, costumes, characters. It's definitely Batman in Superman's world, not Superman in Batman's world, and I love that. But yeah, Superman, he's still new to this, and for him to be trying his hardest, at the moment his hardest, and to still be constantly scrutinised and beaten down by the public, by government officials, by a little bastard who has literally uncovered a huge rock that can kill him, potentially kill him, that's got to be disheartening. So you wonder why he's somber and why he's depressed and he's disappointed in the world. And he says, you know, this was just a farmer's dream. Superman was never real. And all the stuff that Superman says is genuinely heartbreaking in this film, because you see this hero who could be a beacon of hope, and is a beacon of hope for a lot of people, who is constantly getting beaten down emotionally and eventually physically. And it's incredible, and I think that journey is brilliant, and people don't give it enough credit. Another thing I wanted to say about Superman before we wrap this up...
Let me quickly comment.
Please do.
The scene with the bomb going off in the courtroom.
Excellent.
Superman stood there, obviously unharmed, but knowing that his world will now crumble, like the building around him.
The disappointment in his face. People say, I would have wished for a single tear. He's not crying, but his eyes are misty. Like, you can see it.
Yeah.
He is so upset by that, because he's essentially like, here's another fucking thing they're going to blame me for.
Yeah.
You know, and he can't help people. That's what I was going to say. The fight between Batman and Superman, and people say, well, why didn't he just stop him and say, listen to me? He does. He tries. He does try to say that, but he's constantly getting weakened by kryptonite gas, by a fucking spear. He's getting beaten down.
A Superman that's weak to sonic waves. Yes, Zack Snyder.
Love that.
Yes. Sorry.
Plus, that's an awesome action cue that he picks up the sewer lid, sewer grate thing, smashes it in half, and then throws it. Awesome. Him getting pounded by machine gun bullets and sort of backing up is awesome. Again, visual style of Zack Snyder is perfect. It's like a comic book on screen for the modern era. You know, it's not bright and colourful like a Marvel comic book. This looks like a DC comic. Anyways, so that fight between Batman and Superman, which, yes, I would prefer it to be a bit longer, because the movie is billed as it being this gladiator match. I genuinely, even now, I do tweet Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers quite frequently and ask them if they would consider changing the title of the film for the Blu-ray release. I don't think it should be Batman v Superman. I think it should be Batman and Superman, or Batman/Superman, like on like the Jeff Loeb comic books. Is it Jeff Loeb?
I actually think a huge amount of criticism would be removed if this film was simply called Dawn of Justice.
Yeah,
if it was just called Dawn of Justice,
it'd be really ballsy to call it Dawn of Justice too. But yeah, the point I'm making, is, yeah, Superman is disheartened, but he has something to fight for again when he realises there's other heroes trying to do a good thing. You know, they have to unite this trinity that we get to see on the screen for the first time. It's excellent.
Wonder Woman leading it was a great
so
thing
awesome.
as well.
Well, she's the most weathered hero.
Yeah.
She's been doing this for centuries.
She's been around the block, and I'd like to get around her block too.
She's fought creatures from other worlds before. Awesome, awesome line. She with you? I thought she was with you. Awesome. Yeah. I love that shit. Even if the trailers did ruin a lot of the good fanboy moments, that movie was still full of them, and it didn't diminish the effect it had. Love it. It's really cheesy in the trailer. It's not in the movie. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at, I think, the one exchange I really like is Superman going down to Lois and saying, I have to go to Gotham to try and convince him to help me, and if he doesn't, I have to kill him. And he says, no one stays good in this world, and he floats away. That's heartbreaking as a Superman fan, which is what I am. I was always rooting for Superman, kind of. I love them both, but Superman is my boy. And for Superman to be this disheartened, disappointed creature is very upsetting. And the battery is dying, so we need to
We're going to wrap this up super quick. thank you for watching. This has been a super long ramble, but
sorry guys.
I'm glad we finally got it off our chest. If you enjoyed this video and you've stuck around this long, please click like. Drop us a comment, tell us your favourite moment in the film and your worst moment, and then give us your score for the film out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've done
What's
that...
your score for the film?
I'm going to give it an 8.
I know, it's tough. Mine originally was like a 7.5, 8 out of 10, but I've watched it 3 times, it's a 9.
Okay.
It's a maybe even a 9.5. I could argue for a 9.5.
So there you go. So now you tell us your scores. Make sure you hit subscribe. New videos every Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. And as always, peace out.
Peace.